and welcome to the BA Brew. I'm Nicole.
And I'm Kuldip.
Hi, I'm Claire.
And I'm Debbie.
Today we're going to be talking about apprenticeships, specifically the Business Analyst Apprenticeship with Claire Carroll and Kuldip Kang from Allianz. Kuldip was mentored internally by Claire, and we'll also be mentioning Corinne Thomas, who was her AssistKD mentor. So Claire, how did apprenticeships come about at Allianz? Or where did it all start?
Well, at the moment, I think you're aware of this. We are one change BA practice now, but previously we were actually two separate, distinct practices between IT and what was then business change. So back in 2017, we had Alex and Jamie, who joined IT, literally joined on an apprenticeship scheme. And while that was happening, Mark Wilson, the head of our BA practice, was having conversations with AssistKD, having lots of conversations with Lawrence in the beginning, talking about an apprenticeship scheme that we could introduce into what was their business change. And we progressed that. Mark was obviously keeping me in the loop on that. And we did progress it. It seemed like such a positive thing to do. And we approached certain people in the practice who we thought would be great candidates to take part. Kuldip, of course, was one of those people, and Claire Middleton. We had lots of learning from Alex and Jamie and from their experience. And so they shared lots of knowledge with us, which was fantastic. So Claire and Kuldip, I think, started their apprenticeship in 2018, and both did extremely well, I'm very proud to say. And then our latest group started in 2019, and they are now at the point of completing, hopefully, in the next 4 to 6 weeks. They should be completing their apprenticeships. And we have identified our next cohort. So it's all been very, very positive. It's certainly something we want to carry on doing. And we want to get the best people that we possibly can onto the scheme, because it does require, I know we'll chat a bit about this a bit more later probably, but it does require a lot of commitment on both sides. So we want to be absolutely sure we've got the right people.
Okay. And Kuldip, you obviously have been through this. You've successfully completed the apprenticeship and gone on to achieve fantastic things. What were some of your experiences? Have you got any recommendations for people looking to start out on the apprenticeship or are currently going through it?
Yeah, no, of course. I think, as Claire touched on, that commitment is really, really key, especially when you're going to embark on such a scheme, because you have to be very disciplined and you can't leave things till next week. It all catches up with you, as Claire mentioned. That it's really important that you start things off with a clear plan as to how you're going to carve your time out to commit to the program. And that's one of the things I did. And Claire, who also was doing the program with me, Claire Middleton, she also did that. We were both very organised from the get-go, very disciplined with carving time out of our diaries to be like, this is for the apprenticeship. This is when we're going to be doing reading or completing logs. We're very strict with ourselves. And Allianz was fantastic and really supportive with that as well. So we were working on some big projects at the time as well. And our project teams were very aware that we were doing this scheme, and our line managers were informing everyone around us that this is what we're doing. So we've got the support from our team, from the organisation, and myself and Claire were really clear with everybody that this is what we're doing and this is what is required of us to complete this programme. So we were very honest with people around us, and that set a precedence from the get-go, which made it quite easy. So I'd recommend just being very honest with the people around you that you're on the program, and being really strict with yourself and planning ahead of time on how you're going to be going through that program, and asking for help. Don't be worried about asking for help or where you are feeling like you're getting quite overwhelmed. And raising those issues sooner than later is much better, because you can come up with a solution, and you're not harming yourself, because you you've got to take care of your well-being as well. And this is where Corinne was fantastic. She'd always check in on how we were balancing our projects and going through this scheme. She was really good, just making sure that we were getting support and we weren't being overwhelmed.
I think it's nice that apprenticeships encompass lots of different learning styles, don't they? Like you said, you've got the classroom, more formal side of it. You've got like an online learning element. You've got your deliberate practice where you're really kind of putting into practice and hands-on through your day job what you've been learning through those different kind of methods. But there's also quite a large element of self-directed learning, self-study. You know, you've got your apprenticeship time. So did that work for you, or did you find that quite hard to fit it in amongst your day job and your courses and your mentor visits and your portfolio write-up? You know, how did you find that element?
I think that's where the planning comes in, and it's really important, that self-directed learning. It's really key that you plan and you also evaluate your learning experience. So, I mean, with the program, we had a weekly log that we would do. We had those checking points with Corinne. We had checking points with Claire, Dave, my line manager. So that supported with that self-directed learning. And one of the things I found through the program, when I got more confidence through the year, I started actually asking for Corinne for books that I could read just to develop my knowledge in a certain area where it was lacking. I wish I did that sooner, but I got the confidence as I went through the program to actually ask, oh, could I find out more about this? Could you take some time out to talk me through this? And that was outside of the structured timings that went in. And from the program, I've been doing a lot more of that, just going out. What's the worst someone's going to say? No, and people don't say no.
If I could just interject briefly, Kuldip was extremely proactive from day one on planning and getting that plan in place and being very strict with it. But also this on the self-directed learning, that example that Kuldip just gave of reaching out to Corinne with absolute, our complete support and say, well, actually, I'd really like to explore this topic a little bit more, really interested in this, and where could I possibly apply that? Give me a working example, and then putting that into practice. And I think that was it was an excellent thing to do. Corinne was, again, amazingly helpful, and also a really good example to people coming onto in the next group, that don't feel restricted. I know time is precious, and you have to be very careful with managing your time, but part of self-learning and self-governing in that area is looking at the wider picture, not just on what is on that curriculum, what do I need to tick that box. And I think that level of interest and that proactive approach just shows an extra level of commitment.
It's quite interesting, actually, because the apprenticeship program sets out certain techniques and skill areas, but actually managing your way through the apprenticeship program actually also requires you to develop the skills that I think add to a very rounded business analyst. So it's quite interesting hearing you talk about it, because I was one of the people who did a review of the program when it was the standard being put forward to be approved as an apprenticeship, and the content absolutely terrific. But then there is the emergent, if you like, additional benefits that you have to learn to manage your time. And I think it does encourage you to be somebody who thinks about things, which of course is the basis of business analysis. It's about thinking, and also to be proactive, as you said. And I love the fact that you use the word tenacity, Claire, because I think it does take tenacity. It's an extensive program, but I always feel when I look at it that the people that succeed through that program, they are going to be the stars of the future, because they've got a toolkit now that could take them in lots of different places for their career. But as I say, that sort of around the edges of the program, that actually managing your way through it and keeping your focus, those are all fantastic skills as well as part of it.
And so we've all said that the program can be quite challenging. You have to sort of balance a lot of different things while you're working your way through it. So did you, I guess, as an employer and as an apprentice, feel that you were well supported through the program? You know, what support was available to you? You've obviously got Corinne, your assist mentor, but was there anyone else that you sort of called upon, where you know, was the program well structured, well guided for you?
I think, Kuldip, from my perspective, you know, we had amazing support from, and not just from Corinne, but obviously Nicole, from yourself, from anybody we reached out to at AssistKD. Very, very responsive, and always a very positive and swift response to any of our queries. Mark Wilson, as head of BA practice, is complete champion of this scheme, as of our technical coach, our technical managers, everybody in the BA practice, in the leadership scheme, in the leadership team, very, very supportive of the endeavours of people going through the programme. Sometimes, you know, we may need to remind people in the project teams that certain time has been actually ring-fenced for that particular person to work on the apprenticeship scheme, because people can forget about it with the pressures of, you know, project pressures and pressures of work. So sometimes we might need to just have a conversation about that. But in general, I think the support, from my perspective, is excellent on all fronts.
Yeah, no, I'd echo what Claire said there. From AssistKD, everyone was very supportive. If we had any questions, we were getting responsive very quickly. So that was always good. And internally, everyone was, very, very understanding and always open to actually take us through some things as well. So sometimes me and Claire had to do certain assignments and try and fill some gaps in what was required to finish the program. So if it wasn't within our project, we would go out and try and find out where we could tick off certain requirements, and people were willing to do that. They were willing to find pieces of work within other projects or programs to try and get us that exposure experience. So that was really helpful. As Claire said, sometimes you've just got to remind people that time is ring-fenced for the program, and that was only rare. That was very rare though, but there were probably a few occasions where you've just got to mention that. But no, it was really good in the beginning. One of the things I had to do was we got an assignment, I think it was within a month of the program, to interview somebody on the role of a BA in business analysis. And I went out and did the interview with John Rush, who used to be a business analyst. So he's a senior leader within our change practice. And that was great from my perspective. That was the first time I got to speak to him properly since joining the BA practice, and it was really good to get his insight. But the program gives you those opportunities. It gives you opportunities to do things that wouldn't be in your normal, I guess, working, within your role. So that was a really nice thing of the program, and an opportunity that it gives. Although there's some challenges, there's those opportunities.
It's fantastic, isn't it, really? Because I think and Claire, you probably remember this as well, when we come in as business analysts not going through an apprenticeship, you can end up working in certain areas, and you know, I've come across people in the past who said, you know, I've just spent years writing requirements, sort of thing, you know, and it's a great thing that a defined program like this, and obviously Allianz really supported as a community around it too, but it does open up those opportunities. And, you know, it's been really interesting to me observing this over the last few years. You know, we've had presentations at conference about the apprenticeship. You know, we've had all sorts of different groups, like the Young Business Analysts group. There are some apprentices involved in that. And it does feel that it opens up opportunities that maybe before the apprenticeship existed weren't quite so available to people wanting to become a business analyst. So it's given a sort of entry route, it's given a program of study, but it's also given a broader set of opportunities, which, you know, is fantastic, really, isn't it? You know, for those of us who are quite dedicated to business analysis, it's what we want.
It's absolutely, I mean, the breadth of it is just fantastic. It's such a positive experience because, as you say, Debbie, it can happen that a business analyst might spend quite some time, you know, working in one particular area of business analysis, and I think it's a real education, not just for business analysts, but for people outside of the BA community, that there's a lot more to business analysis than that, a lot more. And I think one of the most rewarding things for us as a company is to see people reaping the benefits of that on the apprenticeship scheme, getting the opportunity to apply that learning as well, and you're literally seeing them grow into the role, and seeing their confidence grows as they as they get to apply all of this learning in a real environment, or share the learning with their team members or outside of the team.
I'm a great lover of learning and of continuous and ongoing learning. So can I ask you, Kuldip, you finished the apprenticeship, you successfully completed. Did it give you anything where you might think, I want to learn more about that? Or did it instill in anything about continuing learning?
Yeah, no, it definitely did. I mean, I'm in a different role now, but the techniques and tools that I've learned as a BA, I apply in my role. But that hunger to wanting to learn more is something that's continued. So after actually doing the apprenticeship and doing the diploma in business analysis, I've been doing a lot of courses on underwriting within my current role. So it's prompted me to try out other development programs, and during the apprenticeship, it gave me a good feel for what works, what doesn't work, what a structured program looks like, and what my requirements are. And doing that from the get-go has made me embrace these programs and take the opportunities out of them a bit more. So that's something that's come out. But yeah, no, I'm a big, like yourself, a big learner, and somebody that just sees it as something that you just need to continue doing.
Definitely, it's definitely a fantastic opportunity if you can get on an apprenticeship scheme, you know, 18 months of all that learning and support and progression, and then, as you said, Kuldip, you know, to come out with a really fantastic toolkit and being able to transfer your skills into other roles as well, even if it's just a stepping stone. You don't have to stay within that discipline. It's such a great asset to have. So we're probably heading towards the end of the pod now, so we're just going to come up with a top tip from each of us. So Claire, what would be your top tip for either employers looking to start offering an apprenticeship programme, or for interested individuals looking to enrol in an apprenticeship?
I would say, and at the risk of repeating myself, I feel so strongly about this, I would definitely say it is such a valuable avenue to explore, and it is such a wonderful scheme for you people to be on if you can support it. But do not ever underestimate the commitment that is required. So don't go into it lightly, because it's not fair on your people, and it's not fair on the efforts that are being made from all sides, not just from AssistKD, but, you know, to support people going through the scheme. You have to be fully committed to supporting your people going through it. But it is the most positive experience. And if you also do need to make sure that you're selecting the right people.
Kuldip, any top tips from you?
I'd say really immerse yourself in the program and get what you can out of it. And we've done it through AssistKD, and doing it through them it allowed me to build a bigger network. There's a network, as we touched on there, of BAs, whether it's young BAs. We went to the BA conference, so and that's something we were able to get a discount on as well. Myself and Claire Middleton, we were able to go twice. So taking advantage of those opportunities and also doing additional learning. So myself and Claire did the systems modeling techniques course, which wasn't part of the program, but we wanted to learn more, so we did it. So really take advantage of those opportunities, because it's one of the things when you reflect on the program that you'd be quite, proud of for doing. So I'd say just fully immerse yourself and take advantage of what's there to offer, because it's only 18 months and it goes by very quickly, and you'll look back and you don't want to regret anything.
And Debbie, any top tips from yourself?
I think in terms of learning programs, the one thing I've always learned, if you're on a program, just keep going. I have a phrase which is keep on keeping on, and that I always used to say to myself whenever I was on a program of study, even if one day you really don't feel like it and you think I can spare 10 minutes, I would spend that 10 minutes, because if you take yourself out of a learning program and then try and go back into it, you have to spend time thinking your way back into it. So even if all I could do was just spend 10 minutes on a train thinking about it, that's what I would do. So keep on keeping on, because it's amazing how small steps add up to a very good big result.
I love that top tip. It's brilliant. So I'd like to say a huge thank you to everyone for listening today, especially our special guests, Claire and Kuldip, for joining us on the podcast. If you've got any ideas for future episodes, or if you'd like to appear as a guest, please do contact us. Our email address is babrew@assistkd.com. Thank you so much for listening.